Good afternoon, Jaap.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for coming. Could you tell us a bit about why or how the Ministry for Agriculture and Forestry is involved with plants?
We're basically involved with plants at a whole different range of the spectrum. It starts at the border, where we're trying to keep pests and diseases out of the country, and so you may well have seen the Border Patrol program on TV1, where people unknowingly at times bring in certain material, and some of that is pest plants or seeds, and it's that where we're trying to keep that out of the country.
New Zealand, to people who come here for the first time, they often say to me, "Gee, the country's so paranoid about plants. You can't even take an apple in," and they seem to be a bit upset about the fact they take it quite personally. Why is it that we're so concerned about new plants coming here?
Yeah, it's plants that could well be harbouring pathogens on them.
Is it like diseases?
Yeah, diseases, or the plants themselves. Like if people bring seeds in, those plants themselves could well be a pest, and they could well be a pest to the trade and the economy. Our New Zealand economy relies on our product to be of a high standard, so we basically need to ensure that we keep pests and diseases out of the country, and then that includes plants that are pests.
Right. So are there plants that have come into New Zealand legally that are problems as well, or is it just the illegal ones?
In the past, if you think back of the early European settlers, they brought in a lot of plants to have as value or make themselves feel more like at home. They were very unfamiliar with the native environment and the native flora that we've got here in New Zealand. A good example is gorse, brought over from Scotland, and there was a species that people we're happy to have in the country. Since then, we've realised that it's marching across the countryside, and it's now considered a weed.
So they brought it here to make hedges, and it ended up as the whole paddock.
Yeah. So that's just an example of how originally a wanted plant has turned nasty. The other thing that pest plants have got in common with one another, as opposed to desirable plants, is that pest plants tend to be very persistent. They may have roots like rhizomes that even if you cut them off, they don't just die, they just grow up again. The other thing is that they may well be prolific seeders, for example pampas, which is wind dispersed. A lot of our native plants aren't wind dispersed, so these exotic plants can disperse themselves out wider and then establish more rapidly as well.
Right, so they're highly successful in the New Zealand environment.
They are.
Sometimes it brings me to the question of what can the home gardener do to deal with pest plants and to prevent their spread into the wider community?
Well, we rely on the home gardeners a lot for being our eyes and ears out there in the environment. They are the ones that, if they're going to find anything, they will be the ones that will find it in their garden, or public gardens as well. So if they find something that they're suspicious of or they've never seen before, we recommend that they, at first point of call, get in contact with the regional council, or else they can contact us at MAF Biosecurity directly. And we can even provide information regarding certain pest plants on our website as well.
Okay, so how do they get hold of you at MAF?
They get either through our website
so just MAF.
www.biosecurity.govt.nz. Or the other place, if it's a notifiable plant, which are eradication species, they can ring up our 0800 hotline, and that is 0800 80 99 66.
Very good. when I guess the nursery trade, often looks for spectacular plants to sell, and some of those in the past, I understand, have been pests. Should gardeners keep an eye out as well when they're buying plants?
Definitely. In general, we work very closely with the nursery trade through the National Pest Plant Accord, which is an agreement that we've got set up, in a cooperative agreement that we've set up with the nursery and Association and regional councils, also other government agencies with biosecurity responsibilities like Department of Conservation. And so a lot of the time, if members of the public go and purchase their plants from a reputable garden centre, they will be very unlikely to find pest plants there for sale.
Because those nurseries are part of the accord.
Yeah, they're part of the accord. So the highest risk is basically in places like fairs or car boot sales where people unknowingly are selling pest plants.
Yep.
And if that's so, or even at a garden centre, if a member of the public finds a plant there that shouldn't be sold, is to contact us directly,
right, or
their regional council.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm a fairly keen home gardener. How do I know what those plants look like? What's in the accord and what's not? I see you've got a little booklet there. Is that?
And that is, we've got this publication, which people can get hold of at a small charge from their regional council. And what that basically shows is, within there, it's got pictures of what the plant looks like, and then a description of what the plant is like, and what stature it's got, the impacts that it has, and what people can do as well. The information is also freely obtainable on our website, and that's the aforementioned website.
Right.
I think there is actually a link on the front page at the moment. If they click on National Pest Plant Accord, they will get directly into the
So if you see something that you're not sure about, maybe the first thing you could do is to go onto your website and have a look.
Yes, that's a good.
See if it's one of those pest plants.
First port of call. Yep. And the other thing is to get additional information from their regional council. There's also the Weed Busters program that runs nationally that is educating the public on pest plants and how to control them and keep them out of their gardens and environment. So those are a couple of other options they can follow up on.
And what should I do if I find one of those that happens to be growing in my garden?
We would recommend that you carefully dig it out and get rid of it. The way of doing that is that we recommend to put that in a plastic bag that goes out with your garden or with your waste out to the local landfill where it's deep buried, rather than just digging out the pest plant and throwing it in the compost. Either in the compost bin or over the fence. We're still educating people that is a way that plants just end up spreading even further.
Yes.
It's many times we still find plants that are being dumped along roadsides.
So that's an absolute no-no.
Or reserves, yes, because those are just the areas that we're trying to protect.
Right.
So,
Okay.
The other bit of work that we've got going is the National Interest Pests, and that is where we lead and coordinate the control of those pests, and it's the top priority pests that have become part of the national interest pests.
Right, and have you got an example of those national interests?
Yeah, there's in total there's 10 of those pests on. 10 of them are pest plants, and we are working on, for example, the Cape tulip, which once was a garden plant, and that is shown to be a considerable problem on escarpments and banks, and it prolifically spreads itself through its seeding, and it's only restricted to particular parts of the country. So we're working towards eradication for that one.
Where does that come from? Is that South Africa?
Yeah, that's South Africa. The other one that we've got here in the South Island that we're looking at eradicating from the South Island, but not from the north because it's too widely established, is an aquatic plant known as hornwort. And yeah, so we're working together with regional councils and the Department of Conservation at the moment to eradicate that plant from the South Island. And then there'll be a continual control in place to keep that plant out of the South Island.
Right, it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the other ones within there that we're working very closely with industry on is the pipegrass. And that's also another South African plant as well, which is a coastal dune grass. It was originally introduced into New Zealand back in the 50s
to stabilise
stabilising of sand. Since then, we've come to realise it's a big pest over in Australia. It was starting to show those characteristics here in New Zealand with our climate as well. And because we only had that in 3 parts of the country, we decided that is yet another pest that we want to eradicate from the country.
Right, so take early intervention.
Yeah. So the earlier we come to realise certain established pests or organisms are pests, then we can intervene earlier. And the earlier we intervene, the more likely we can achieve eradication. For example, here in Canterbury, we work closely with Environment Canterbury on a pest plant known as Phragmites. Now, Phragmites is it's a wetland plant that was fairly popular in the garden industry in the 1970s. We've since found that it is a pest plant, primarily because it chokes waterways and it causes flooding. It also will take over low-lying pasture land. We basically want to eradicate this plant from the country. It's even known to penetrate through rubber, plastic, artificial pond liners. The root that it's got is so vigorous that it just doesn't give up.
So you plan to eradicate it, and how do you know whether you should eradicate something or control it? I mean, when it's realistic, how realistic is that goal to eradicate Phragmites?
With those pests that are on the eradication list or with eradication as their goal, we look first of all at how likely is it that it's a pest. Is it affecting the environment or economy or health or trade? And then it goes through that ranking system, and also how widely is it distributed. If it's fairly confined to a particular part of the country, then it's more likely to become an eradication species.
Right. So with Phragmites, how far is that within the country? How widespread is it?
That's currently here in Canterbury and also in Napier.
So just 2 provinces. So you think it's possible to wipe it out before it spreads elsewhere?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming
in
and describing what MAF is doing with unwanted plants. And I hope that's really useful to many of us who can actually cooperate. And it sounds as though the more people who are involved and take part, the more effective your work is too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jaap.